Roman emperors paid for them by their weight in gold, and every Casanova knows they are linked to love. Oysters it is, today on Let's Cook. Hi, welcome to Let's Cook, and oysters it is. Now, oysters they're just interesting because, and I think oysters kind of fall into that cilantro type thing where you either love them or hate them. Some people will not eat raw seafood, so they won't eat oysters at all. Some other people, they only eat them cooked, and it's a texture thing too. But let me just go over the menu right now. We are making oysters in a piquant broth, then sauteed beef tenderloin with oyster stuffing. Both very simple, easy dishes. Now, when we're talking about oysters, in a lot of restaurants, they have the raw bars or the oyster bars. But in the United States, you know, it's kind of interesting about oysters because there are actually three primary species of oysters. First, the Pacific or Japanese oyster. Secondly, the Eastern or Atlantic oyster. And third, the Olympia oyster. Each of these species is sold under a different name depending on where they are harvested. Okay, so, you know, so for instance, the Malpec, which is an oyster, they're not going to use the species name. It's actually from where it's harvested that the name is used. And some of them have Indian names as well because the Indians were great consumers before we got here of oysters. Very interesting, but I need to show you how to open an oyster now. Now, when you go to open an oyster, first of all, when you store the oyster, don't put it in a plastic bag. If you put the oyster in a plastic bag, it can actually suffocate. And here, I have this oyster right here. Now, this oyster will open. These will sometimes open on their own, you know, just when they're in the refrigerator, and you lose the liquid. So the deeper part of the rounded body, you should store it sitting like this in the refrigerator, uncovered. When you go to open it now, need to be very careful. First of all, the cutting board, the utensils, the tools, anything that comes in touch with the shell should be washed right away, and you have to be careful with cross-contamination. So what we do is we take the oyster, we put it into a side towel here. Then right here, you need an oyster knife, but you can also use, you know, one of those church key can opener, and you just come in here and you twist like that. Once you twist it like that, that's going to release the shell. Then you're going to come in and cut across it this way, because you don't want to cut into the meat of the oyster right here. See, we don't want to cut into that. Now, and also make sure you wash your oysters before you go to open them, because they can be sandy and dirty. Because once they're born, you know, the egg of the oyster is so small. There's about 1 million eggs, and 1 million eggs will only equal the size of a marble. That's how small they are. And once they get into the ocean, they attach themselves to something, they're there forever. So they never leave their neighborhood. They stay right there. And as a matter of fact, the oyster, this is kind of interesting too, the oyster, aside from the mussel, is one of the most cultivated mollusks that we consume. But look, let's look at the inside of this now. See this beautiful oyster? See how it's nice and moist? Really nice. And then what you would do is right here, you would come underneath, and you would just, using your knife, just sever this attachment right here so that you're able to eat it. And you'll notice the oyster got nice and plump and juicy, out of this world. Now, when I eat an oyster, what I like to do is I just like to take a little bit of lemon, just like this, put a bit of lemon on it. If you like, you can use cocktail, you can use horseradish. I like lemon. Out of this world. By the way, with the oyster, before we go to break, if you bang into it, it sounds hollow, get rid of it. If you open it and it's very dry or discolored green, get rid of it. We're going to take a little break. Then when we come back, we're talking oysters in a piquant broth. Don't go anywhere. It's oysters it is today on Let's Cook. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook, where oysters it is. Now we're going to make oysters in a piquant broth. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get the broth going. So to get the broth going, I'm going to take a lemon here, because I'll need this lemon peeled. And I'm just going to take all the ends off the lemon here and just slice this down and peel it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to slice or peel the lemon, then slice it. We need to make sure that we remove all the pith off this as we're doing it. And you'll notice with my knife, I go about halfway down, I bring it back towards me, curving it so that I get all of the pith off the lemon, but I still have the shape of the lemon. And all I'll do with this is I'll just take this and I'll cut this in 4. If it has a lot of seeds, or any seeds at all, we're going to go ahead and remove those seeds. So I have my lemons right there. So now what I'm going to do, I just needed to have those ready. So the first thing I'm going to do, get my pan nice and hot, and I'm going to put a little bit of chipotle chili in here. These are smoked jalapeno chilies that are in an adobo sauce. They're nice and spicy. So we put our chilies in there. Then I'm going to put in a little bit of rice wine vinegar. Along with that rice wine vinegar, now I'm going to add my water. This is just to make the broth. A little bit of orange juice concentrate, my soy sauce here as well. We're just going to bring that up to a simmer. Now, once that's at a simmer, I actually could put in, I have a little bit of jalapeno here too. I also have some ginger. Now, you see this ginger right here? With the ginger here, I'm just going to use this to flavor the broth. I could leave it in if I wanted to. So if I wanted to, I could just take the ginger, slice it nice and thin like that, which is, I think I'll actually do that, and that way I'll just take it out. Or if I wanted to, I could peel and mash it and put that in, so we'll put that in. Then I'm going to need a little bit of scallion here for the garnish as well. So this is just a real easy way to make a nice sauce to go with these delicious oysters. The trick to this is to have good oysters. So I have my scallions here too. They're all ready to go. So I'm almost ready to finish my broth. This is a very fast broth. There we are. We'll let that come up to simmer. Now we need to take our oysters and we need to bread them so that we can fry them. First thing I'll do is I'll heat my pan here. Into the pan, I'm going to put enough oil just to coat the bottom of the pan. We're going to be pan frying these, not deep frying them. So just enough to coat the bottom of the pan, get that nice and hot. Now I have the oysters that are right here. I'm going to take these fresh oysters right out of the shell here, and I have some seasoned flour here. I'll pick them up without too much of the moisture here and just drop them into the seasoned flour. Make as many as you like. I'll do about 4. Now if you don't like to open oysters, you know, you can get wherever you buy your oysters from. Usually your fish supplier will open the oysters. They'll charge you a little extra for it, but it'll work. So I have my oysters in here. I take my oysters, put them in the flour, shake off that excess flour. You know, I have this fork here so it would look really nice and delicate. We're going to get rid of our fork there just for a second. I'm going to drop them in the egg batter because I need to make sure that I get rid of any of the excess flour. I really want to taste the oyster. Now, the oysters only take about 2 minutes to, not even 2 minutes to cook. Oh, geez, they only take about a half a minute to cook. So now they're in the egg wash. Take them out of the egg wash here, right into my fresh breadcrumbs, right here. And I'm using white fresh breadcrumbs, which means I took French bread and just peeled it, or not peeled it, I'm sorry, removed the crust and just ground it up in a food processor. So I just have the nice white fresh breadcrumbs. Drop these in here like this. Good. Good to go. We'll toss these around. We want a very light coating on the breadcrumbs here. Just very light coating on the oysters. Beautiful. Good. Now, our next step is to fry these. So to make sure that my oil's hot enough, just take a little breadcrumb. I drop it in the oil that way. It's sizzled. That's good. That means my oil is ready for the oyster. There's a tongue twister, so I'll just drop my oysters in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. So the oysters are in. We're going to go ahead and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn our oysters over. See how great these look? See how nice and golden brown they get? And again, we don't want these to be overcooked or too tough. Once we turn them over, this last one, once we turn them over, we count to 3 again. 1, 2, 3. However I turn them over, that's the one I'll take out last. There we are. Beautiful. These cook very, very quickly. And by the way, you need to be careful because they do contain water, so the oil will pop. Just like as if you were making a soft shell crab. It'll definitely pop when you're doing it. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to taste my broth right here. Reduce down too much. A little more water. Then we put our lemons in here just to warm this up. Finish it with the jalapeno and scallions. And by the way, this is a very spicy broth right here. Out of this world, and it's so easy to make. You can see how simple the ingredients are. Now to plate this, I'm just going to take this now. A lemon, a lemon, a lemon, a lemon, a little bit of the broth here, leaving the chipotles behind, right there. Then we take our oysters, they go right on top of the lemon. Out of this world. We're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, we have more going on with our oysters. For Oysters it is today on Let's Cook. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome to Let's Cook, where we are talking oysters it is. And that's what we're doing today. Now, we're doing a sauteed beef tenderloin with an oyster stuffing. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sear off my beef tenderloin, or what you might think of as filet mignon, but these are smaller cuts, so I would call them mignonnes, very small. So I'm just going to take my tenderloin here, season these with salt and pepper. I'm using a little bit of sea salt here. I always use sea salt or kosher salt, so we'll just season these up with our salt and pepper. Then we're going to sear these off. Now when I go to sear these off in a pan, I'll heat my pan. And in the pan here, you could use clarified butter, but I'm using regular oil. This is just, actually, this is safflower oil, but canola or you could use that or vegetable oil. But so that I get a little browning action and I develop some flavor, I'm going to put in just a little bit of whole butter. Just a little bit in there. See that? Okay. Now, when the butter just starts to brown, which it's doing now I drop my fillets in. Beautiful. And these are going to get cooked a second time in the oven or under the broiler. So I'm just going to sear these so that they're nice and rare. Now, while these are cooking here, it's a very good idea to pick up the pan like this and baste them a little bit, just to keep them nice and moist. It's always a good idea whenever you're doing that to baste. These are now ready to turn. So I'll come inside here. I'm just going to turn them. You see that great color on there? Beautiful. Good. So we're just going to sear this side too. Works real fast. Again, we want this to be rare because we're going to use the same pan to make our stuffing as well. So I have another pan right here, and I'm simply going to use this pan right here to hold them in because this is going to go into the oven for me. My beef is now ready to come out. Put this right here, keeping it nice and warm. Now you're going to see this stuffing in actual time, which is terrific. Let me just put this on the side over here. To this now I add some shallots, finely diced shallots. I add my garlic. Beautiful. Now I'm going to flame this, so I'm going to put in a little brandy in here. Hello, hello. I was going to flame it. I don't have to. The pan was hot enough. The brandy is gone. See, look. It's all gone. That's exactly what I wanted. Now, I'll add a little bit more butter to this. Beautiful. Just a little bit more butter here. And my oysters. 1, 2, with the juice from them. 3, 4, because I'm making 6, 5, 6 oysters. Just saute these ever so quickly. Just want these, you want these to cook up very quickly. Good. These are now good to go. These oysters are almost done. I'm going to have carryover cooking. So now I'm going to add a little bit of breadcrumb to this, a little bit of thin herbs. That's whatever's available in the market for me today. Okay, beautiful. Then we're going to add some cheese to this too. But the first thing that I'm going to do is get these on the steaks. So I'll take each steak, I'll go 1. Each steak is going to get 2 oysters. Out of this world. I love this. And this, by the way, what I'm doing right now, if you have people coming over, you can actually do this, have this done, and then just pop this in the oven nice and slow to reheat it too. How many? Okay, there's my oysters. They're done. Now I'll just take a little bit of mozzarella cheese, a little bit of grated cheese, either Pecorino Romano, Parmesan. Mix this together. Oh, so good. Then we'll take on top of each of the oysters, put this. Looks good, doesn't it? It's going to taste really good too. Gonna pop this in the oven here. It'll take about 3 minutes for that cheese to melt, which gives us just enough time to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to look at our beef tenderloin with oyster stuffing. Oysters it is. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook and Oysters it is. Now, in the last segment, we did our oyster stuffed tenderloin or filet mignon. All we did is we put it in the oven under the broiler. The steaks were pan-seared. Then we made our oyster stuffing and we gratinated it or browned it. Now, I'm just going to take my filet mignons now out of the pan here, set them up on a plate. Then we're going to make a little sauce, just a little pan sauce to go with this, and I'll show you how we'll do that. So, just going to go like this. Now, in the bottom of the pan here, you can see that I have some pan juices coming out of the steak. So now what I'm going to do is, we used brandy before, we can use a little brandy now. So just be careful whenever you take a pan out of the oven. And by the way, when you buy pans, it's good to get an oven-proof pan, one with a metal handle that can go in the oven. I'm going to hit this with just a little bit of brandy there. I can reduce that down, or I can light it up. I like the fire. I like the flame. There we are. So we're just going to let that flavor of that brandy cook down. Once it goes out, that's good. I have a little chicken stock here I'm going to add to that now. Bring that up to a boil. Wonderful pan juices there. Now, in a classic situation, this little bit of cheese and herbs here, I would strain them out, but I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to put some more fine herbs in there, then take a little bit of whole butter to finish this. This is where we're monte au beurre. We're mounting our sauce with butter. The butter will give it a nice viscosity. Again, this is rich. It's good. So you can see how this is just coming together. Once that butter's melted, this sauce is done. Oh, out of this world. Let me just taste it. Ooh, hot, but good. Sauce is done. Doesn't need any salt. So, I'm gonna wipe the spoon off here. God, that was hot. Here we are. Look, just a little bit of this right on top. Doesn't this look out of this world? You know, oysters are great. You're supposed to eat them in a month that has an R in it, but you can take them and you can fry them like we did right here, out of this world. You can also take them and you can stuff them and make a wonderful oyster stuffing, or you can use my preferred method here, which is where I take the oyster with a little bit of lemon. Just a little bit of lemon here. Oh, this is good. So I like a little bit of sea salt here too, even though they might be salty. And then just a little bit of cracked black pepper. Out of this world. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye for now.